Also then for there. Amanda, away two. No, Siaba, I spoke earlier on, but just one more thing. Siaba Sabana. Siaba Sabana. Siaba Sabana. Siaba Fool. Siaba. Mphathi wohlelo ngibonga kakhulu amakhosi akithi akhona nabaholi bonke abakhona phakathi kwethu abaqhamuka kwezombusazwe kanye nezenkolo kanye nezabadala lapho kuphathwayo khona nonke ama-comrades obukhona benu insizwa zakithi lezi egqoke into ebonakala ukuthi into lolala ngayo phansi ungenandaba ngibonga kakhulu akukunenge ngizokusho namhlanje kodwa into ebalulekile ukuthi leli icala eselake lahamba laphinde labuya laphinde lahamba laphinde labuya sacabanga baselihamba unomphela laphinda labuya bekade ke ukunengana ebekuye ukuthi uma sifika la uthola ukuthi abashushisi abalungile abakalungi batheke sebelunge baqeda bathi nya namhlanje sidlulile igabeni eziningi ezidala ukujala ukuzenza jala ukuphikiswana ngezinto ezithile bese kuthiwa ke kuhlehlwe futhi ngenkathi sizohlala uye kwathiwa uzophinda futhi uZuma enza amaqhinga athi ahlehle ngilibaziselani icala ngoba ngifuna lisheshe liphele ngoba angilazi nokuthi leli cala kuthiwa ngonani ukuze nje kuthiwa uyisiboshwa wona awunanga lutho awazi ukuthi wonani into enjalo kodwa ke namhlanje sidlulile into esiyenzile namhlanje ukuthi njengoba besila einsukwini ezimbalwa edlule sathi ngaphambi kokuba kubizwe ofakazi kubalulekile ukuthi sikhulume naleli cala nokuthi selenzeni nokuthi njengoba sekade laba khona nje lizoqhubeka kanjani sabatshena ukuthi sibhale incwadi ende engangebhuku lokuzobeka phambi kwejaji ukuthi leli cala alikwazi ukuqhubeka kukhona lo mshushisi okuyena oluholayo ngoba wenze inkohlakalo eziningi waphula nemithetho ngoba efuna ukuthi akabophe lensizwe kwaze wayonikeza ubufakazi lapho kungafuneki khona ukuthi anikeze ubufakazi wahamba ekhuluma lonke izwe leli ekhuluma ngaleli cala esikhundleni sokuba zoshushisa icala wangagcina lapho wahlangana nabantu bamaphepha lamaphepha obuhlalwezwa ekhuluma ngaleli cala engithuka uyena lo ubebakhokhobisela information athi nengasho ukuthi mina kodwa nansi information uningi esikushoyo okusembhalweni eswenzile sase sithi ke leli cala alizukwazi ukuqhubeka kuyena ongumshushisi simfuna suke angalokuthi uma senza lokho ke sathi asifuni ukuthi siyalibazisa sifuna liqale lolo daba silixoxe kube lokuqala ngazi lixoxayo ukuthi angahlala yini ashushise na silibekile ke lolo daba namhlanje phambi kwejaji washo ukuthi kunzima qhaqhazela amadolo emadodeni kwathiwa hayi phuma kancane ake siphinde sibuye futhi so buya futhi kuyo lenyanga ingakapheli imi kanjena ke inkulumo yethu uthi lo mmeli hayi ummeli lo mshushisi ongabazanga ukuphenya icala kahle sifuna suke ungagcini ngaye nalaba bebephenya icala ngoba sithole ukuthi bebesebenzisana nezinhloli zangaphandle bephula umthetho niyazi futhi ukuthi leli cala selake labulawa lafa libulawa yibo abashushisi ngenxa yabanye abashushisi ababenza imanga behleba ngami engcingweni bengibiza ngawonke amagama lawo abaphathi babo bathi siyakhipha leli cala sibuza umbuzo ukuthi liqhubeka kanjani uma laliphenywe kanje ngiyathemba ukuthi nike nayizwa nalensizwa eyake yaphatha lamaphoyisa kwakuthiwa ofezela ithi ayizange ngibeke icala ngoba likhwa likaze libe khona kodwa bengibeka nje bathi akantshontshe uZuma udlula bonke abantu base-South Africa kodwa akaze bathole ngisho isipenethu lesengisitshotshile ngisho ukuthi ke liyaqhubeka manje alisahlehli uma enkantolo umshushisi esebeka amacala wathi nanka amacala esikubeka wona athi uma iqeda ijaji bese liyakubuza ukuthi uyawavuma noma uyawaphika na uma sekufike lapha lihlehli lingibuzile ke ijaji namhlanje ngathi ngiyawaphika ngazi nje lodwa sengifuna ke manje lithethe impela uma lizothethwa ngoba ngithi mina uma lingathethwa manje leli cala asisenabo ubulungiswa selihlale kwacishe kwahlangana iminyaka engama-20 seligwetshiwe niyazi sasila lichithwa ujaji ongasekho ubaba uMsimanga wathi amaphoyisa ahlulekile kubeka icala elibonakalayo walichitha balibuyisa laphinda lachithwa omunye ujaji omhlophe kwakuthiwa uNicholson wathi politiki yodwa la kulona icala uZuma kenzanga lutho walichitha baqhubekela phambili balibuyisa phambili njengoba lapheliswa ke abaphathi babashushisi wase kusukuma iDA ithi ayifuni idlule leli cala yafaka icala ukuthi alibuye leli cala njengoba libuyile nje manje ke sithi alikwazi kuba nobulungisi ngale kokuthi seliqedwe isikhathi eside kodwa laba abebephenya bebenza isimanga bekhokhoba ebusuku bekhuluma nabantu baseMelika labo kuthiwa izinhloli zakhona bephana ngeshama lokhuzana okhisimusibhokisi thwena ngikhisimuzibhokisi wakho yilokho ke sikumele manje ukuthi noma leli cala vele lingekho ngoba mina nje ngangekho lokulungiswa khona indaba okuthenga kwekhaya kodwa kuthiwa ile ikhaya basazongichazela ke kodwa mase bechaza ukuthi kwakwenze njani yilokho kwenzekile ke namhlanje ngeke singene kokuningi kodwa uma ningake nifunde lento yayikhulunywe ingcingweni hey ningaze nibone ukuthi bakhohlakela abantu ngo-2005 base bexoxa ukuthi ubani ozoba uDeputy President ngoba ngizosuswa mina nangempela ngasuswa ngo-2005 ngingazi mina kanti ihleliwe into injalo ke ibuye incwadi yethu nifunde le ncwadi esibhalile esithi naye kuhambe nomshushisi kodwa kasiyeke lezo bengichaza nje isimo senkantolo kwamanje ukuthi maphi njengoba selihlehla indawo emfishane ngeke lisahlehla manje kuthiwe ungena ngalonyaka ngiyacabanga ukuthi lo nyaka lo uzothi uphela lo beliphele nya ingasekho sesiye emaphethelweni kodwa ke sizozwa ngoba kuzobe kuxoxwa la ngithi-ke uma sengisho lokhu angifuni ukusho okuningi ngifuna ukunibonga nonke ngokungisekela kuze kube manje kudlalwa ngami uma ningafunda lento engiyishoyo ile ebizwa kuthiwa ama-spy tapes abantu engangazi ukuthi ama-comrade bangibiza ngokuthi ngame Zulu boy bangibize ngokuthi ngisilima bakhuluma isingisi-ke it is a fool okuyifunde ubona ukuthi indlela ebekuhlezwe ngayo kufuna ukuthi ngingazi mina kanti kufuneke ngilahlwele kude noma ngibulawo ilapha ya nofunde lokho engikushoyo nokufunda phela omunye uthi komunye when is the death knell ngazi ubani wathi isingisi la ngikhuluma angikhulumele nasiyangihlula when are you doing the death knell to this Zulu boy ithini i-death knell isho ukuthini uyangisiza uthi nisifaka nini isipikili sokugcina sokubulala lezi Zulu boy kusho abantu engangithi ama-comrade kodwa ke ngiyifundela lapha ngingasho into eyiningi anginibonga kakhulu ngiyethemba ukuthi lo mkhankaso uzofika ekugcineni ngibonga kakhulu nonke ngibonge nangokuthi namhlanje nilanga obuningi benu Ngiyathemba ukuthi uma liphela leli cala ubulungiswa buyobonakala nokuthi angaze ngintshontshe into yamuntu angaze ngenze lutho kuyobe sekucacile. Ngiyafisa ukuthi umthetho usebenze ngendlela ungenzeleli ngoba sekuthanda ukwanda ukwenzelela komthetho. Ngicela ukuthi ke kume manje ukuze nathi siwuhloniphe. Uma abaphathi bomthetho bengasihloniphi thina sobahlonipha kanjani? Akufuneki ukuthi bagabe ngokuthi bazi umthetho so bese bengakufaka nasejele nje noma unganile. Akufuneki lokho. Ngiyathemba ukuthi kuba khona kwenu kuyasisiza ke sonke ukuthi senze izinto eziright. Ngiyabonga. So besila sikusaqhubeka icala nilizwe ukuthi bathi linini kodwa kuyo lenyanga ayipheli ngoba sifuna ukuliqeda manje. Ngibonga kakhulu. Manja awethu lumhla sibuyayo lumhla sibuyayo lumhla sibuyayo othula kuthi lumhla sibuyayo lumhla sibuyayo lumhla sibuyayo othula kuthi umshini wami, umshini wami, umshini wami, umshini wami, umshini wami, we baba. Hayi wena uyangibambezela, umshini wami, umshini wami, umshini wami, we baba. Hayi wena musungibambezela, umshini wami, umshini wami, umshini wami, we baba. Umshini wami, umshini wami, umshini wami, umshini wami, umshini wami, we baba. Siyabonga, 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 comrade, thank you very much. Ngiyalebuha, uluka Yesu.
All right, that's former President Jacob Zuma just speaking to his supporters. He was basically relaying what had happened in the court. He basically says that Billy Downer must go because he's not impartial. Of course, his case was adjourned to the 19th of July. And I do have in studio with me my colleague Mzwandile Mbeje, just to give us some analysis of what's taken place so far. Mzwandile, thanks very much for joining me in studio. Of course, the president was speaking very much in Zulu, and that's not my strong point. But what was he essentially saying to the supporters?
Well, Nombu, you didn't really miss out much because he was explaining what has been said inside by his lawyers when they were laying the basis for the plea that he has just entered into. Remember, he entered into a not guilty plea. He was just giving them some of the snippets, all that we've had. I mean, to say, for example, Billy Downer needs to recuse himself. That is part of the argument, that is part of the plea. And saying these are the people who've been working with foreign intelligence. And of course, he also raised the issue of the spy tapes, which we very much know about. So essentially, what he's done now was that he came out to basically tell his supporters to say, this is what has transpired inside whilst you guys were still standing here. And then obviously telling them that the case should be concluded by this year. Remember, today, officially, it got underway.
Yes.
But it's very interesting to see if it will conclude this year, given that if, for example, the court rejects that Billy Downer go,
recused, yeah.
so what happens? Because I suspect he will want to go to higher courts.
That's right. Interesting as well. He says not only Billy Downer should go, but the whole investigating team. Now, that would be very convenient because then it would mean who would present the case?
Yes, because, I mean, in his view, he feels they've been tampering with evidence, so in the course of duty, so there's a lot of foreign elements that have been involved. And in fact, if the judge were to grant him that wish, then Billy Downer goes. So the next logical step will be to seek the dismissal of the case.
Yes.
Because obviously it would have been proven that there's been a lot of unfairness going on. So then what is the point of continuing the case? I mean, you had him. So already you can see where he's going with this, but, we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, and earlier we were listening to the response of the NPA. They were basically saying this is a delaying tactic. In actual fact, the president's legal team said nothing about the actual merits of the case in terms of the allegations that have been made against him, whereas Thales, the second defendants, they actually did speak to the merits of the case and they seemed to have a strong defense there too. Your thoughts around that? Well,
yes, I think the NPA has been saying they are ready to continue. And remember, the NPA has also contended that the former president is basically using these tactics to delay as much as he possibly can, and in fact, to get to a point where the case may end up being dismissed. So it's understandable why they will come from different perspectives, because from the Zuma side, they convinced this is more political, but the NPA is basically saying, no, well, we're not part of that. So what is going to be interesting is for those arguments to be tabled before the court, and then the court really look at them and decide what exactly is happening. Because I think we all want a conclusion to this. I mean, since some of us have started working, we've always been hearing about this case. So
it's a real drag. It must be a real drag for you. But the issue of political interference, I mean, that's a very serious allegation. And if there's if one, tries to surmise what that means, then what essentially is President Zuma, former President Jacob Zuma, saying? Who will have been responsible for ensuring that the wheels turn against him?
He also did indicate, Nompu, as he was speaking to his supporters, he basically says, in 2005, there were already plans to remove me. So clearly, he's still talking about politics. He is basically saying there were bigger plans to thwart his political ambitions. Remember, when he was being removed as the deputy president, so obviously that could affect his chances of becoming the president. So he says those were made in such a manner that he couldn't continue with his political ambitions. But of course, it didn't succeed. But some of the evidence that he is basing his arguments on are the spy tapes. You heard him there say, there were people who were saying, I am a fool, I am a Zulu boy, so when is the death knell? So those are some of his arguments. When he talks politics, he is basically speaking around those to say there would have been people who then were involved in his political situation because they did not want him to become president.
Yeah, in his political downfall. Yeah. And then we'll come back, of course, to the former President Jacob Zuma, but Ace Magashule, the suspended ANC Secretary General, he did speak, but your view is that he was more guarded.
He was very guarded. In fact, I remember last time when we were seated here again, after speaking, we were very clear that on the face of it, he had violated the conditions of his suspension because, he had mobilized people. He had said the entire Free State should go to KZN. So, but today, I think he was very, very guarded, and he was basically saying, we're here to support just one person, so it's not about anyone else. So you see, he was just, you could see, and Jesse Duarte yesterday basically said they had a discussion a day before about the situation. So I would assume those issues would come up. Remember, these are comrades. They may not be the best of friends at the moment, but time and again, they'll speak about these things to say, you know what, we're the ones who normally say this is the line, but we can't be the ones who then break that line.
Yeah.
So you could see. And Kalni House, I thought also he was going to speak, but you saw. But there's something that is interesting that I don't want us to forget as we discuss this. Duduzane Zuma has made it very public that he wants to be the next president of South Africa. In fact, he said he's contesting the current president in 2022. And I found it very interesting, Nombu, that before the former president took to the podium, he basically called him to say, hey, there's a young man who must come and greet you. So, and you listen to what he was saying. Obviously, he greeted, said, you know what, it's not about us. But then he went further to say, but Sabana, like, I'm afraid of them. But I mean, in some of the short clips earlier, he's been saying, you know what, the future is now. So all along we've been saying, this may be about former President Zuma. But let me tell you, Nompu, those people who are there, not so much about Zuma, particularly those political heavyweights. It's about them.
Yes.
So
this is a vehicle for them.
Yes, this is a vehicle for them. So actually they found a nice rallying point to launch their ambitions. I mean, you saw Malusi Kikaba there. When last did you see Malusi Kikaba? So Malusi Kikaba was at state capture.
That's right.
And then the kind of allegations that really were said about him. Yeah. So it's really about them. And for me, with Duduzane Zuma having made it clear that I want to be the next president of South Africa, so, and then you've got a political gathering. So what better way than to say to the people, well, I may not do it publicly, but hey, man, look, there's this young man here.
Yeah, I am being told by my director that we need to go to break quickly, but just one last thing before I let you go. The whole issue of lack of social distancing, people wearing their masks here, it's a worry because now we're told that we are, in some places are in the third wave. That's a real concern. That's a super spreader event.
It's a great concern. It's a great concern. I mean, if you've been looking at the numbers of late in Nombu, the numbers are really going up. And remember, the more people get infected and affected, so the hospitalization goes up.
That's
in
right.
fact, yesterday, the president of the country chaired the command council that looks into these issues. So I won't be surprised if in the coming days some sort of announcement really is made, because at some point, if you look at the number of hospitalization, it's going up. I also saw the statement today that was issued last night. I think it shot up by something like 17%. So if you have events like those, which basically disregard all the protocols, it's a red flag.
Yeah, we're in trouble. Thank you very much, Mzwandile, for your time. My colleague there, Mzwandile Mbeche, he's our political editor. We're going to go for a quick break. We'll have more for you thereafter.